Welcome, welcome everyone to the Island Life podcast, where we journey onto the island of discovery to relive some of the best and worst moments of Survivor. My name is Will, an experienced Survivor fan, 48 seasons deep, and I will be your guide. And joining us on this special two-person adventure is our Survivor newbie, the brand new Survivor fan who just finished his 5th season of the show. I give you Survivor F.
What's going on, folks? Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So we are actually talking this time about the last 2 episodes. That's episodes 4 and 5 of season 49. And incidentally, not that I could have foreseen the future here, we're kind of talking about 2 of the same episode. I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel like we watched the same episode twice.
Kind of, yeah. No, I would say that. I was going to say, if I was to start, that we saw a little bit of a mini saga unravel here, which, could change the theme of how we go into the post-merge environment. But I think based on what you're saying, I would agree.
Yeah, there's really one big moment that we're gonna have to talk through, but it was clearly a transition of the season, and for better for worse, because what we were watching at up to in the first 3 episodes was a total unraveling of Kele. So if nothing had changed, we may have just seen that same story continue, and then maybe we're complaining about something. Not even saying you're complaining necessarily, but we would have seen that same thing. So for better for worse, things have been changed up. I think
Yet, at the same time, have they? Leave that to the viewers to figure out.
all right, fair enough, fair enough. Uh, so I think we'll just start right off chronologically. Um, we usually go with these with the most important thing, but the most important thing actually kind of happened at the beginning of episode 4. So Sophie and Alex, the last 2 survivors of the great destruction of Kele, are obviously bonding because they're the only survivors, and you may recall that via I'm not sure if it was all Sophie's doing, but at the end of the day, Alex used his idol and Sophie survived. So that's a pretty good scenario for Sophie. So that's nice. But it's still looking bleak because there's only the 2 of them. And in fact, we go to what we think is the immunity challenge, and it's still just them 2 with 2 full other tribes and a challenge set up that kind of looks like it's for pairs. Uh Did the show get you? Did it really seem like they were gonna run a challenge of 2 versus 2 versus 2?
No, I would be pretty surprised if they did. Obviously, I haven't watched enough Survivor to know and be more sure in my assumption, but I thought it would be really weird team dynamic to have one team of 2, the other team's fully loaded. So I had a feeling that Jeff was definitely up to something to shake things up.
Now, of course, it would be like each of those other 2 tribes would be sitting 4 people, so it wouldn't be like 6 versus 2, it'd be 2 versus 2 versus 2. But
Yeah, but it's
it
like
would be
half
pretty
your more than half your tribe is sitting. That's kind of weird.
it would be also, like, I don't think they really ever address this. I mean, people might know examples over the 40 something seasons, but you have you noticed that Jeff will sometimes remind them, "Hey, if you sat out last challenge, you can't sit out this challenge." Do you have a recollection of that type of thing?
I I feel like, yeah, I've heard him mention that. Not off the top of my head, but it feels like that does feel like something you would
Yes.
say.
Yeah, sometimes it's called out. It is always the rule. It is the rule that if if you're sitting out if we sit out UF for one challenge, then the next challenge that happens, we cannot sit you out. It's kind of to slightly balance the advantage that the bigger tribes have. You can't just sit your weakest player indefinitely. Now you can still
Yeah,
alternate,
it's
but
it's logical. I feel like there's a form of strategy that's involved there, right? If you're a tribe that dominates and you have the same players go up who happen to be like physical beasts, it makes things easier for you and your team. But like if there's nothing preventing you from sticking with that same formula, then, things are gonna get stale. If everyone's expecting the challenge beasts who are all part of the same team to be able to dominate these physical challenges, it's gonna become very predictable. So I think the shakeup is important, and it adds a little bit of strategy in terms of, okay, like, you're sitting this one out, I'm gonna play the next one, or, okay, we're gonna have
Yeah,
another
and that
challenge, and I'll be ready for that one.
and that rule has been, I mean, that's from pretty much the beginning of the show. Like that's been,
Yeah.
and in the early days, there was also usually a reward challenge and an immunity challenge. So you'd sit somebody for the reward challenge, and then they sit somebody different for the immunity challenge. So that's existed. What I'm getting at is that if they had actually done this and they had done 2 versus 2 versus 2, then that means imagine Uli sits 4 people. But then the next challenge, they can't comply with the restriction because you'd have to sit 4 different
Oh,
people, but
okay.
they don't have 4 different people.
Yeah, very perceptive review.
Now,
That's
what would have
not
happened?
something
I
I was
think
thinking of.
they just would have yada yada past that, and Jeff wouldn't even mention it, I think, if it happened, but that's an
But I mean
observation I
that
was thinking anyway.
all the more reason to, to feel like Jeff was gonna change things up. I personally was not even thinking about that, but I think that drives that argument home a little bit further in terms of, if you're gonna do that, then you're gonna have to change one of the implied rules that's been established since the start of Survivor.
Not that Jeff has a problem with that, I can assure you he just changes things whenever he wants, but ideally, you don't have to change something like that. Um, so what this all leads up to is fake out. Actually, we're doing toddlers first, 3 to 2 tribe swap. They are actually switching up who's on which tribe, and they're eliminating one of the tribes. And thus, we're going from there being 3 tribes to there only being 2 tribes, and everyone's shuffled up. So I did the research. So what you've seen, F, is you've seen 3 tribes. They mix up into another set of 3 tribes. So you've seen that version, but you have not seen what we saw, which is actually the tribes got bigger because like the untouched tribes were 6 people, and now these 2 tribes are 7 people.
Yeah,
But yeah, what'd you think?
I just I don't know, I didn't like how they implemented it. I felt like, at least with how they structured the teams, we could have handled that a little bit better. You always worry about if someone's gonna get screwed over out of nothing they have control over in terms of a new team structure, and you start to feel that way with how the tribes got split. Now it was purely random, so, I mean, it is what it is, but at the end of the day, I would have felt a little bit more comfortable if they took an approach where, yes, they do randomize teams, but they keep a certain rule where, since the Hina tribe and the Uli tribe did not go to tribal at all, and they have all their members, they just split them up in 2 groups of 3, 2 randomized groups of 3, I should say. So it's not like they can decide, which pairings they want to have. But I felt, at least if you have 2 random groups of 3, and then 2 random groups of 3 within the Uli tribe, and then you essentially separate out Alex and, Sophie into those 2 tribes separately. You have an even split of, each tribe is now 3 Uli, 3 Hina, and 1 Kele. And I feel like, yes, there is still a clear minority there, but the minority there was already the minority. So they're being penalized for just not playing as good as the other tribes. So if that is what it is, that's better than setting it up in a way that, if one tribe is overweight in one tribe and the other tribe is underweight in the other tribe, they're 2 tribes that have otherwise been playing a good game. And now that creates a weird dynamic issue that did not exist before, and creates a potential, turbulent situation for them because they got screwed over by what the swap did. So ultimately, that is what we saw, and that was initially my concern. Okay, now we have this one tribe with 4 Uli, 2 Hina, 1 Kele, and the other one vice versa, 4 Uli, 2 Hina, and then 1 Kele. And you just know that going into tribal for either of those tribes, obviously the minority is gonna be the stronger group who just has less people.
This topic has always fascinated me, and I flip flopped over the years. Probably continue to flip flop on this. The phenomenon you're talking about is the swap screw. Is what the fans tend to
Yes.
call this, which is because of a switch in who's on what tribe, you get kicked out of your alliance and out of the majority, and now you're with people who you've never met, so there's no opportunity even to leverage relationships because you didn't have any, you just met them, and it's very easy for then you just to get picked off for not a social strategy, but just a numbers strategy, which is less interesting. But, so your hypothetical and not picking on you because there's problems no matter how you arrange this. The way they chose it was completely random. We saw that that has issues.
Yep.
With your idea, obviously, like you're picking a unique scenario where the numbers work out that way. Like I don't know if like it needed to be a situation where there's even numbers from each of the three tribes. If because if that wasn't true, then you could not evenly distribute it. Um, Also, you're just like forcing Alex and Sophie to be split up no matter what, because in the random draw, they might have ended up on the same tribe, which would have been advantageous to them. Whereas in your
I'm
proposal, you're dooming them to be alone on the tribe.
Yeah,
Uh,
I the way I'm looking at it is they're already in a bad position, right? Their tribe just has not been successful, and they play a part in that, right? So why penalize the other tribes who have been playing a good game? Especially in Hina's case, they've been dominating. Why screw them over if you're trying to create a split and you're trying to change the tribe dynamics, you can still do that. Even if there's a case where you keep the 2 Kele together, you're giving them a bigger advantage than they actually deserve with how they've been playing the game. This is ultimately throwing a wrench into the entire plan, but it's they're not guaranteed to be the next people out. It's the way I see it happening is because each tribe now has 3 Uli, excuse me, and 3 Hina. The Kele member might be the deciding vote. So they might not be the first target, but, like, they're still in a pretty dangerous position themselves, and that makes things a lot more interesting than, what we saw where, whoever goes to tribal, and if you have one where there's 4 Hina and 2 Uli, they're gonna target the Uli rather than the Kele. The Kele is just not seen as a threat right now.
yeah, but what if, like hypothetically, what could have happened? Because I guess real quick, let me give you um the breakdown here. So, uh, on New Hina, we have Sophie from Kele, Matt and Jason who were already on Hina, and then Jawan, Nate, Rizzo, and Savannah, all who were on Uli originally. That's one side, and then the other side has Alex, who stays on Kele because it's gonna be the new Kele tribe. We have Shannon and Sage, who were on Uli, and then Christina, MC, the other Sophie, and Steven from original Hia. Now, what could have happened. So each of these tribes have 4 people from original Hina or original Uli. Imagine of the 4, one of them just hates their original tribe. Like they're not interested. They've been waiting for an excuse to go against them. And then imagine that the Kele members, that's Sophie or Alex, they instinctively go towards the group of 2 people. So on the new Hina, that might look like Sophie's first relationship is with Jason and Matt, and then maybe
Right.
Jawan hates Uli, and suddenly now they are the majority, and now it flips the other direction, and actually, uh, it creates something new. Like I feel like there are times when an interesting thing happens that would not have been possible otherwise, and instead you just get like whatever was happening on the original tribes.
Well,
But
here's the beauty of
yeah, go
the
ahead.
split I was proposing. That could still happen in that environment, and I would say in a pure split environment where it's 3-3-1, you still like, the Kale could be the deciding vote, or like you said, you could have a person who does not like their original tribe. I think in the way that it's broken down, like, yes, you might not like your original tribe, But it would be pretty foolish to immediately after you get split up into 2 tribes, you have the majority with your tribe. Why would you immediately get out of that? Right? Like, it's safer for you to vote with your tribe, which has majority, than to immediately get out of that majority, because then you have to deal with a situation where people are gonna, look at you and see if they can fully trust you. Once you get into post-merge, your other members from the other tribe are gonna look at that and take notice of, "Hey, how did this person get eliminated? They would have needed enough votes that we had the majority on." It's gonna cause additional questions. It's gonna put additional pressure on you to vote with the group. So I think my issue with how they broke it down is it seemed super obvious what the path forward was, which could have been a little bit more clouded had it just been an even split.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right about that, especially the second episode. Like after seeing what happened in episode 4, I mean, what happens in episode 5 even more obvious. Yeah, I don't know, because I think literally because it's a random draw, the results feel random. Like it could have been like it could have just been like the 5 original tribe members and 1 Kele. It could have been
Yep.
like 3-2-2. I go so it's a volatile thing to happen in the game. But I think what hurts the most is that because Hina and Uli never had to go to tribal council yet, like, all these storylines that have been developing, like, I never got to see where they were gonna go, so I feel unfulfilled as the viewer, and then things get
Yes.
mixed up, like, because um, maybe Jason was really actually gonna kinda be part of the main group, but now in this new situation, he's not. Or maybe Jawan was really on the outs on Uli, and if they had gone to tribal, he actually would have been voted out. But because of how this shaken out, he's got like a new lease on life, and at this point is kind of looking fine, even if he's not respected. He's still part of much bigger group now. So
Yeah, that's a great point.
it's
I think that
it's weird.
I was not a fan for exactly the reason that you described. There was potential storylines that we just were robbed of, like, we did not get to see, and, even before these set of episodes, there were a lot of sequences where we saw one tribe. Obviously, the focus was on Kele just because they kept going to tribal, and it made you wonder, what is the true tribe dynamic like? Like, what part of Hina can I see, when they're under pressure? What part of Uli can I see when they're under pressure? We never got to see them in that sort of situation, and now we're looking at them in the lens of they're under pressure because of the swap screw, right? The swap which screwed them over. So
Yeah,
it's
and even
more
yeah,
outside factors rather than what's actually happening within their game, which just kind of
maybe if
feels
they had
lousy.
maybe if they had even just gone to one tribal, either of the other 2 tribes, then, like, just fan fiction right now, if Uli had gone to the tribal council and they voted out Sage, let's say, maybe
Right.
kind of in the aftermath, it becomes clear to Joanne that he's now, like, very much on the bottom at this point for whatever reason, like, that's how he feels. Then, when a swap happens, since he feels like he's on the bottom, he is much more likely to flip on his old tribe, even if he's with the majority. But because no alliances have been tested yet, it's very easy to play it safe and stick your tribes, which is what we see. Devil's advocate, if what we're telling the show is we would have because I'm not the reason I'm kind of against your idea is like it like is only possible if like by coincidence all 3 tribes have an even number left. So like then what are you gonna do in the when it's odd numbers? So for me, I'm kinda saying do nothing. But if you had done nothing, then you open the door for Kele to lose again for the 5th time in a row, or 4th time because they got the medevac for one of them. Um, or no, actually, we did 5, right? 5 times in a row, and then you're just kicking it down the road, and then they have 1 member left, and obviously with only 1 member left, I doubt they're gonna do a 1 versus 1 challenge. So,
Well,
maybe
I
this was just a weird case where, like, it played out this way, they kinda did the best they could.
so my hypothetical plan would involve, like, we saw in these sets of episodes a Black Rock, White Rock be, deciding, in this case, who goes on a journey, right? I think you could take a similar approach where This is how you divvy up the teams. For the teams that have 6 people, have 3 black rocks, have 3 white rocks, and then just put them in a bag, and each person is gonna get either a white rock or a black rock, and it'll be a 3-3 split. You do that with the Hina tribe, you do that with the Uli tribe, and then finally for Alex and, um, Sophie, I don't know why I'm blanking on her name, do the same thing. Instead of having 6 rocks, have 2 rocks. So those rocks, everyone who has a black rock is all on one team. Everyone has a white rock is on the other team.
But
So
but like I said, that's only possible because we're 6-6-2. If we were like 6-5-3, then you're gonna have
yeah,
an odd number of people from the other tribes.
this hypothetical is just purely replacing what Jeff did in this instance. If yeah, you're not even taking that sort of approach if the tribe dynamics are different or if someone else has lost someone else. In that case, yeah, I agree. You just kind of keep playing the game. And up until whenever you get into post merge, if that tribe
Although
has lost a lot, they've just lost a lot. You can't do anything about that.
maybe we could take what your idea is, but if there's an odd number, like if there's a tribe that had 5 people, maybe you send 2 people to one tribe, 2 people to the other tribe, and then the last person goes to your favorite island, Exile Island, and they're just gone, and then they'll be back to replace whoever gets voted out. Maybe it's something like that. So you maintain
Oh,
even tribal lines for that night, and then
while I
whatever happens after that is its own thing.
while I love that, and you would have a much better read of this, that might be a little bit too complicated for Jeff at this moment.
Uh, well, what if I told you Jeff has attempted that thing before to mixed fan reactions?
Interesting.
Honestly, it's I'm really fighting against this urge of like, oh, they're changing up the status quo. I don't like it. Like I'm really trying to fight because that's just everyone's instinct. I think like production is changing what it was. I don't, and that's annoying. I'm trying to resist that bias or that prejudice against this type of thing. Um, all I can tell
I
you is I didn't get good feelings from what I watched. That's ultimately what I know for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's the whole, like, thought about, like, do you prefer change or do you like to keep things traditional? And it's like, that's always an interesting conversation to have. I'm someone if something's not broke, don't fix it, but I also look at things in the sense that, okay, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and this is from the framework of you're watching something for entertainment, eventually it's gonna get boring if you're just watching the same thing over and over and over again. Eventually, you wanna change things up, spice things up, so I understand the need to do things differently, but this is one of those things where specifically talking about this tribe swap, it just soured these 2 episodes for me, right? Like, I'm sure you would agree on that. It's just one of those cases where this is one season of Survivor where we're gonna go in and just have a huge what if, like, what if this didn't happen? And I don't mean, okay, what if this tribe didn't lose, but just what if we didn't do this tribe swap the way we did? Or maybe
That
what if
rates.
we just split up the remaining Kele between the other 2 tribes, right? Like, there were so many other ways you could have done this, and the way that
Mhm.
it was handled, it just feels like it just was not done well.
Okay. Do you admit that if the same swap happened, but instead of doing nothing, Jason executed a crazy blindside where he would got himself, Matt, Jawan, and Sophie to blindside Savannah and take her out of the game. If that had happened, you'd be like, this swap was amazing. This is amazing TV.
Yeah. Yeah, that would've been crazy, but, like, that's something I'd be thinking about after the fact. My initial impression would still be like, "Well, I don't know why they did the swap the way that they did." So that's me
Gotcha.
banking on the fact that the outcome becomes what I want it to rather than
Which I guess,
what
I
the
mean,
actual move is for.
that's reality TV, isn't it? Like we root for, our storylines. Okay. So let's get into kind of what the aftermath of these two sides. So starting with the new Kele tribe. So they all go back. Oh, by the way, they all sadly go back to original Kele Beach. So they have literally nothing because Kele did not win a single challenge. So they have no rewards or anything on there. Um, and really, so we're gonna see this on both tribes. The storyline is what will the minority players do? As in this case, the original Uli, Sage, and Shannon. What will be their strategy to try to change their fate? Because immediately they know they're in danger. because even though Alex is the actual minority, he's the only one from his tribe, thinking towards the merge, everyone's like, even if Sophie and Alex work together, it's only 2 people. Like, I don't have to worry about them too. Whereas the big groups of 6, that's who we worry about. So Shannon is kind of who we see talking to in both episodes actually, talking to a bunch of different people, trying to connect. And it's Sage who looks like she's getting a little annoyed by it, but for now in this first episode doesn't really take any actions to correct it. But my initial thing was good on you, Shannon. Like build up your relationships because at some point, if all else fails, you need them to vote at Sage and not you. I mean, ideally, you could do something crazy, like I mentioned, but that's your today. So I like what Shannon was doing in this first episode. Um, I think that's really Sophie. Oh, not Sophia. Shannon and Christina had a nice moment together, and Alex had fun just showing him the meager state of the beach. How did you think it was cruel of Jeff to be like, I could have sent you to original Uli, but nah, go to Kele.
I thought it was weird that they didn't just make the final 2 tribes Uli and Hina just because those 2 teams were the teams that were winning, so yeah, it just shows a potential mean streak in Jeff in which, he's able to not only change the dynamics of the game, but sometimes he just won't throw you a bone where you would expect to be thrown a bone. Like, even earlier in the season, you would think that there is a reasonable cause to just not have another vote where you get Jake medevaced out, right? Like, someone's already getting eliminated this episode. Might as well just take it a little bit easier for everyone else. And that potentially could have shifted everything how it turned out in this episode. And who knows if Kaylee still had 3 people, then we might not even do this tribe swap thing. So going back to what I was saying, like, huge what if scenarios have played out for me so far this season. And just the new tribes and the new dynamics of everyone getting to know each other. I thought, yes, Shannon had a really strong showing this episode. She seemed to be able to interact very easily with the new tribe members and get in their good graces. And Sage, for what she's been doing, she is in a pretty difficult position because what it seems like to us is she's at the bottom of her original Uli tribe. And now, because Shannon is seen to be a very likable person, that, if push comes to shove and someone does need to be thrown out, she could be on the chopping block. So I think for the most part, she can't really do much outside of sit and wait. You don't want to self destruct, say something you don't want to towards someone. So I did appreciate the fact that she was mostly observing, trying to figure out how she's approaching the situation rather than kind of going in guns blazing.
It just surprised me that I understand. So Shannon and Sage were not in the same alliance on the original Uli, but in this desperate times, I kind of would have expected them to at least talk to each other to talk about what their plan should be.
Yeah.
We didn't see any. They didn't air any of that, so that's um, it is what it is.
Maybe I
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe they immediately just realized it was like a losing effort. So rather than try to spend time trying to formulate something that would go nowhere, why not just put yourself in a position to, like, think about the next steps, right? You don't know if you're going to tribal, but, like, if it comes down to that, you have a limited amount of time to communicate with this new group. How are you going to do that?
Maybe that could be. Um, honestly, it's more of the same on the new Hina tribe. The only thing is we saw a lot more. We didn't really see much of Alex outside of him being like a funny host, showing them the island. Whereas Sophie on the new Hina tribe, we see a lot of her trying to specifically make relationships with members of original Uli specifically. So we don't really see her talking with Matt or Jason. She decides immediately that she wants to get herself in on the majority on this tribe, which makes logical sense. I mean, for TV and entertainment, it would have been cool if she tried to do something crazy with Matt and Jason, but I understand it's the most direct and logical option to try to get yourself with the bigger group. Um, I noticed specifically her and Savannah had a nice moment, which is good because I don't know if he knows this yet, but Savannah does seem to be kind of leading the show for Uli, so that is a good person to be in with if that's gonna last. Um, and then we have it doesn't really take full form until after the challenge, but we really start seeing Matt's strategy versus Jason's strategy, where Matt is trying to think of a way to create an uprising, whereas Jason either is intentionally doing nothing or is obliviously doing nothing. But at this point, I feel like Jason is just hoping it works out. Where
It's
when it's
disappointing.
weird.
Just, I feel like we've seen this with those other survivors in the past where I you know, I it's easy for me to say, just sitting in my comfortable seat, watching it from home, but it feels like you just gotta do something sometimes. If you're in Survivor, be in it to win it, and, if like, there's certain attitudes, your body language, things that seem like, okay, you might not have given up, but you're not necessarily playing the game, and those are the vibes I was getting from Jason for the most part. Even when Hina was dominating, we didn't really see too much of Jason. He wasn't really doing anything with the rest of his tribe. He's just kinda there, just kind of, I guess, enjoying his time on the island as much as he could, but didn't get too much screen time, and it just made you wonder, like, what exactly is his strategy? Like, what is he doing something behind the scenes that we don't know about? Like, is there something where, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't be underestimating this guy. He's got some sort of plan he's concocting," or whatever the case may be, and I found myself wondering that a lot, that, like, it just every time we see him, he's just there. He's not really doing anything. So, not sure
Yeah,
what
now
his actual game plan was.
we'll see if you keep your same tune though, because we're gonna see after this community challenge where the two strategies lead those two guys. But first, so the first immunity challenge is was called Stackey Robinson, where you could win some fruit, which is kind of nice, but also immunity. I think who said just like it's just basically like it's not the best reward, but I guess it's fine. Did that happen? Did that happen this episode? I think it did. I don't know if it was Sage or if it was the other so it might have been the other Sophie, but
Hmm.
that was just kind of funny. Um,
Yeah.
This challenge, they're collecting all these blocks. They start off in the water. They're on boats and they're pulling their boat in the water. Collect all your blocks. Get to the shore. Then one person carries two sets of blocks over a balance beam, and they got to do it by themselves. After they succeed, then the whole tribe brings the rest of the blocks, and they're kind of all there's like a piece of wood connected to six ropes, or and they all have to like hold on to those ropes and balance it while also going over the balance beam. Uh, so a lot of balance here, and then lastly, really cool visual. So they need to make a tower of all the blocks, but that tower goes up. It's got to be like 10 feet or higher because in order for anyone to be tall enough to keep stacking the boxes, they got to come up with creative ways, put people on people's shoulders, create like human pyramids, like you see like cheer squads do. Um, uh, I like this challenge.
I did too. I thought especially the end, you got to see how the 2 teams approached it, and it was really interesting to see, like, how tense it got, where one tribe had MC just being a boss and lifting, who was it, like, I don't remember. She was lifting someone on her
Most of the time
shoulders.
it was Shannon that was
Shannon.
on top.
She was lifting Shannon, and Shannon was essentially putting the blocks on top, and then on the other hand, you had Nate, essentially lifting up Rizzo. Rizzo's quite a tall person himself, and they were taking the same approach. Now, unfortunately for them, they were doing it a little bit slower, so they were trying to play catch up, and we got into a situation where MC and the rest of them, I believe, started then building a pyramid, which ended up working out quite well. So we got to
Well, it's
see a
crazy.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, is that like you mentioned, MC was like the base for a lot of the challenge, so she's holding the weight, and then she also finishes the challenges by be the one that climbs up on top of everybody. So MC was all over this
Yeah,
challenge.
she was the MVP in this one. Absolutely. And this one is just like you look at it and it seems difficult. It's like one small push could knock over the entire set of blocks and you have to redo it. So I'm sure they were taking their sweet time and someone who's having to lift someone else up in the sweltering sun, like that does not look like an easy challenge by any stretch.
Also, well, in the balancing part where you're carrying blocks, Matt was the person running with them for the new Hina tribe. He did struggle mightily, so just add that as a factor into what will play out. But not a good showing for Matt, even though they do come back and make it close. But it's gonna be the new Kele tribe that wins. Kele finally wins something. Um,
Yeah. Who knew all it
which
took was needing a tribe swap?
and Hina tribe. I mean, sure, you get.
You just needed
So
Kele to not fully be Kele.
yeah, Kayla. I wonder if it'd be so cool if Sophie or Alex or both get to the end. What a story it'll be for them. I think survive through the dark Kaylee days.
It'll
Especially
make Jake
Alex, I
happy.
think, who like will have been on there forever.
Yeah.
Um, so that will send the new Hina tribe to Trouble Council. The discussions beforehand. So it really seems like there's no shenanigans going on. It's really gonna be with Sophie fully aligned with Uli. It's gonna be either Jason or Matt. And so here we go. So we kind of criticize Jason for doing nothing, but it's Matt who is doing something. That something is talking to a lot of people. But it was weird as he kind of gives two stories because on the one hand, he's telling Nate that he's ready to make a big move and it like could be anybody but him, kind of implying like he'd vote for Jason or he'd vote for Sophie. But then on the other hand, like I feel like he's telling us in confessional that he wants to be able to make a move against original Uli, but he never explains how he'd have the numbers to do that. So it's kind of weird. But at the end of the day, he's trying to actively make a push to vote with Uli. That's what he's saying.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Jason, like at one point, Rizzo and uh I think it's either Rizzo and Savannah or Rizzo and Sophie go to talk to Jason by themselves, and they're kind of like Rizzo's like, "Oh, I've always thought you looked more trustworthy," and then Jason kind of oblivious is like, "Oh, what are you saying? Like more than Matt?" And then Rizzo taken aback because it kind of should have been obvious. He's like, "Well, like if you had to say someone, then yeah, like Matt." And they ask Jason, like, who are you thinking?" And Jason says, "Oh, I don't know. I'm really trying to. This is going to be my first tribal council. I want to play it safe. I think I'm going to play my shot in the dark." So not only does he give them no answer, he doesn't commit to anything, and he also claims he's going to use a shot in the dark, which means he wouldn't vote if you do that. So way different ends of the spectrum for Jason and Matt. Uh, can you sign off on either of their strategies that they did?
Yeah, respectfully with Matt, at least he's playing a dangerous game, but he's at least playing the game, right? With Jason and even Matt's strategy, potentially targeting Nate, I thought I thought that actually was a pretty smart idea. It could do some damage, could set them up pretty nicely post merge. With Jason, like he's just making himself he should let me put it this way. So he's just coming across as just lacking any self-awareness of the situation that he's in. He should understand that he is one of the top targets if that's not clear to him. And his response, he does not have too much rope to offer, right? So he needs to be willing to play whatever game they're throwing his way. And his response is he's just shutting down in front of them, not really giving them anything. He's ultimately putting a target on his own back, showing that, like, hey, we're all affected by these tribe swaps and it's unfortunate for you guys. But I mean, the game is still left to be played. So we gotta figure out who to eliminate. Let's talk strategy. Let's talk something. And he does not give them anything. So that gives you reason enough to just vote him off just for that reason. Now,
Yeah, right. because it's either he's being sneaky, lying to you, trying to like not give you information, or he's just not thinking about the game, and then like, why am I aligning myself with someone who isn't helping me strategically? So it's like
Yeah,
bad in either way.
and this again had me wondering, like, is there stuff off camera we did not get to see where he might have been having some of these dialogues? Because if he's not, like, he's ultimately getting himself eliminated without doing anything to prevent it, which is a shame.
Yeah, yeah. But despite all that, we go to tribal council, and really, all the questions that get answered are putting shade on Matt. Like people are saying things like, "Oh, you keep talking about," like someone keeps talking about their old tribe when actually you're on this new tribe, and it's like people are being too aggressive, blah, 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 and it ends up being Matt who doesn't play shot in the dark because Matt believes he's participating in some kind. He votes for Nate, so he was on the impression he pulled off a crazy blindside against Nate, so he's completely wrong. Um, and everybody else performs a split vote. So they put 4 votes on Matt and 2 votes on Jason. That way, if Matt did have an idol, then Jason would still go home. Um, so and Jason participates in this. So at at this point, we criticize him a lot, but scoreboard, Jason survives and Matt goes home. Uh, did Matt
Through
impress you
through no
enough
effort of his
to
own, I should add. Jason just
through the
happens to survive.
classic Luigi effort, wins by doing nothing?
Exactly.
Did Matt impress you enough to want to see him again someday?
See, this one's a question mark for me just because the Hina tribe was doing so well, we didn't really get to see too much of Matt, and while, yes, he's playing a dangerous game, that could've like, if that strategy worked, like, that would've been pretty genius. So, because I have a high bar, I'm gonna say no, but, like, this one I am thinking about. Like, this one, like, if I had more to see, I could be convinced otherwise, but my answer is no.
He seemed like a cool guy. Like I liked seeing him
Yeah.
on the season, and ultimately he couldn't get himself out of this pickle he was in. Um,
I'm just
but
I'm
there's
just
a
reminded
but you
of
know there's a sorry, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say quickly, I'm just reminded of the fact that he initially could have helped make their fire right away, but he withheld it up until someone else is like, "Hey, you look like you know how to make a fire." So I actually kinda like that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think ultimately like, there's plenty of people who like I like are cool guys to watch on TV. So I don't need Matt again. Man, I think this kind of shows you is that those like kind of fake alliances on day one where it's like, I just looked at you and I think we should go. I loved your vibe. Do you feel that way? Like those things, they feel so fake, but ultimately the people that do that stuck together, which is those 4 people, and thus, um, when we get to this point, like Jason and Matt weren't really aligned in any way, so they made no effort to work together on anything, and yeah, he's just gone now. So farewell,
One
Matt.
last Yeah, one last thought on Matt. I thought it would have been really cool if, if he hypothetically got very far into the game, if towards the end of the game, because he's been with the Riz God, some of the other younger contestants in the season, it would have, like, changed, like, his slang and everything, and
No,
he would become one of those "how do you do, fellow kids" contestants,
that would be so funny. He actually and he like whips it all out at final tribal in front of the jury, and they're all amazed, like,
and it just
"Whoa!"
works. He ends up winning
So
because of
cool.
that.
Oh, yeah, that'd be amazing. But all right. So then we moved on to the next episode. Aftermath of this vote, Jason says the right things. He's like, "Oh, I'm thankful you guys kept me. I'm eager to work with you guys from now on." So, I would say that's a positive for Jason because like we've seen people just get the crazy fights afterwards, and that doesn't help you. Uh, so that's fine. But really, what he has to be thinking is, okay, sure, I was able to survive this time, but like, how am I going to survive next time? Like, I need some kind of action plan here. And a lot of time goes past before he even begins thinking about an action plan. So that's not good. Um, this is also when we see now the breadcrumbs from the new Kele tribe involving Sage and Shannon begin to take form, where Shannon continues developing relationships, which at first feels like a good thing, and Sage is just like smoldering in the background, getting more and more frustrated. For I really like. I don't know if I agreed with why she was frustrated. Like she was just annoyed that Shannon was being so friendly. It feels like at the end of the day that's what it was. But maybe like she didn't get attention on her original tribe because she wasn't in the main alliance, and now maybe she's not getting that same attention here. Although I argue, well, then why don't you go make friends or like try or something? But whatever. Um, it it all takes a turn with Sophie's plan. She describes it as she was staring at the stars, and it came to her. And what she wants to propose is a 2-2-2 alliance, cross-tribal alliance, where she'll bring somebody from her own tribe, she'll talk to Steven, and Steven would bring someone in from his original tribe, and then they'll bring in Sophie and Alex from original Kele, and they will be a secret six alliance. Uh, out of nowhere. Did you like that idea when you heard it from her?
Not at all. No. That that requires a
Whatever.
lot of things to work out the way you expect, and it's a little too early for that, I think.
Okay, but let me challenge you. Because we're watching season 46 in conjunction with this, you saw something similar. The three guys go to the journey together, and Q proposes the +1 alliance, which is ultimately gonna be kind of the same thing, like 6 people, 2 from each tribe. And I think you said you liked it the way Q proposed it. So is there a difference you can tell from
Yeah,
how you're
because of
feeling
how
this
the
time?
because of how the season progressed, that tribe at least had 3. That tribe had a stronger bond we saw between, like, Q and Tiff. The other people that were mentioned outside of the, blanking on the name of the green tribe, most of those people we did see were in good relationships,
Stiga.
and that was an opportunity in their journey to actually connect and work things out rather than some person just internally thinking about, "Hey, this is a plan that we should do." Right as you're, like, right as you're getting into a new tribe, you're trying to figure out those dynamics. This is one of those things where it's like, I'm not against the idea, I just think it's too early to be implementing it, and I don't even know if your relationships are as strong as you think right now just because for the Hina and Uli tribe in particular, their relationships have not been tested because they have not gone to tribal. I mean, again, that you could say some of that for the other season where it seemed like the Yanu tribe was the only tribe going to tribal, but uh, a lot of their issues were self-inflicted rather than, like someone just missing the ball here or there.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I agree with your take because in that example from season 46, uh, there was no way for that plan to instantly backfire on Q because the people he's talking to are not on his tribe, so they can't just turn around and be like, "Ooh, Q, what a schemer, let's vote him out immediately." Whereas here, not only are the people that Shannon's talking to on her current tribe, but she is in the minority of this current tribe and does not know these people at all, and really your priority is to not be the first target. Like that kind of should be in the background of all your decisions right now. So yeah, this is
Exactly.
a very dangerous attempt to make. Unless I mean, maybe she thought because she talks to Steven first about this. Maybe she thought I've connected well enough with him already in the short time. Like really
Yeah.
valuing her social skills. Maybe that could be.
I yeah, I was gonna say that, like, with a new tribe that you're a part of, even before going into a post-merge situation, here's an opportunity for you. You might have a new number one that you like never would have considered before because the opportunity didn't present itself. So again, I do like the plan, but I think like you got to first figure out like who your number one is first and foremost. It might not be who you think it is currently, and you might not be as close knit with the people that you think you're as close knit with. So get a better understanding of that. Uh, Try to get out of the minority first and foremost right now and then start to think about like, okay, how is the rest of the game going to go? You have to worry about surviving tomorrow before you worry about, okay, like how are we gonna go into like the jury votes or things like that. And I think
Yeah.
she's kind of thinking a little bit further ahead right now.
Yeah, and she didn't even offer a name, like and I think it's because she's not really aligned with Sage, like, if she was, she could have said, like, "Sage and I will be part of this."
Yeah.
Maybe even tell Sage about it first, because that's the thing. What surprised me most is in both tribes, so Matt and Jason did not scheme together, and Sage and Shannon are not scheming together. Because when you wanna do something crazy, you kinda need someone to have your back on it. So what Sophie or not, so what Shannon might be thinking is maybe she's picking Savannah, like, she's thinking of Rizzo, she's thinking of someone else who's not here right now, but that person's not here right now, so, like, now that it's kind of a fiction you're giving them. So, yeah, that alarmed me, and kind of predictably, once the rest of the tribe was talking together without her, they're swapping stories, and it's starting to build this narrative where we like Shannon, but she is playing really hard right now, and so if she ever wants to go against us, she will be a dangerous enemy. And at that point, your choices are make sure she's our friend, so she's working with us, or get her out of here so she's never gonna have the chance to be our enemy.
Yeah.
And that's not a good situation. It's a dangerous limbo to be in. So that's the main thing we get from uh the new Kele tribe. Anything else you want to talk about before their immunity challenge?
I think that's the gist of it. It's more of what happens in the immunity and after the immunity, which I think is the focus of this episode for me.
All right, roger that. So we go to the immunity challenge and reward challenge. Uh this
Well,
uh
actually, sorry,
oh
hold that thought. The
mhm.
journey, right? We have a journey this episode as well.
Oh yes,
Yes.
yes, the
So
journey.
there is an opportunity between both the tribes to send someone. And obviously, in one tribe, you have Jason who's concerned about being at the bottom. So he wants to be able to give himself a fighting chance to work his way out. And then in the other tribe, I don't recall how it was fully decided, but one thing leads to another, and MC ends up being picked in that other tribe. But in Jason's tribe, Jawan does something interesting. You know, they're aware of the fact that they need to get Jason out. So Savannah offers to go on the journey. Jason obviously wants to go on the journey. And Nate, interestingly enough, also offers to go on the journey. But I think for him, he's less wanting to do it as compared to Savannah and just doing it so that potentially Jason would be less inclined to go. Jawan is also of the thought that, yeah, we can't let Jason go. So he concocts a plan to get a set of black rocks and white rocks and have them each pick a rock. And whoever picks, I believe, the white rock ends up going on the challenge. And he rigs it so that it's at the top. So essentially, the first person picking does end up getting the chance to go. And ultimately, the first person to put their hand in and pull the rock out is Nate. So he sets it up in a way that he allows Nate to go before Jason even has a chance to take the opportunity himself. So very sneaky approach from Jawan. I do like that he, implemented a smart strategy there, but it makes you realize certain things about Jawan, about how he plays his game and how he can be sneaky, manipulative, and this ends up becoming a pretty interesting journey, wouldn't you say, Will?
Yeah, well, for one thing on Jawan, a very smart idea. I thought it was sloppily executed though, because his logic was, I'll make sure the white rock's on top and also make sure that it's Nate picking first. But that just assumes he's gonna grab the top rock. I mean, what if he just like just shakes off the bag himself and like reaches for the bottom or something? So I feel like this could have backfired. But I
I would
guess
have
like
loved it if that happened. Yeah.
and then and I guess there would have been no consequences to Joanne in that situation other than he failed to prevent Jason to go. But honestly, this is a net positive in my opinion of Joanne, because this is the type of thing you should be thinking about, because there's been plenty of times where the tribe is like, oh, we have to make sure this person doesn't go, but then they fail to stop them when it's like you can use like things like this to guarantee it. So and it's more awkward to say "Oh, to make it fair, let's vote on it," and then, like, out in the open, everyone has to vote for, like, Nate over, and that just, like, leaves bad blood, so, like, that's not the ideal thing to do. It would work, and if you had to, you do it, but it was clean. So I like this from Jawan. Um, Clean up the execution next time.
Yeah.
But yes, the journey at first looks like one of the old sweat versus savvy challenges from the new era. So in this case, one of the sweat challenges is essentially perform heavy labor in a time limit. And what their Nate and MC are told is if you can't do it by the time the timer ends, you both lose your vote. But if you can, then you keep your vote. With at this point, no upside. Um, the note does say like, "Let's start simple," and then it describes the challenge. So immediately when I saw that, I was like, "Okay, what's the not simple part then?" That's usually how that sentence goes. Where if we're gonna start simple, we're gonna end complicated.
Right.
But for a while, it didn't show that, so it's like, "This is weird," but all right. Um, yeah, we get some funny interactions where like they're trying to perform this task, and Nate's trying to get to know MC, build a relationship because you never know when it might be useful to have a friend later in the game, so that's fine. And then MC's like, I genuinely was fine talking with them, but I was just like exhausted and out of breath as
Just
he's trying to talk
gassed.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we got to an
Sorry.
interesting point there too, like when MC goes back and the bags aren't fully covering the note. She gets a sense of, okay, there's something more to this. She calls over Nate and we joked about it that like, oh, like she's just kind of reading it on her own.
Well, only
And
because
this
it
is
says like because the camera's showing the front and it's the beginning of it says, read this message together. It's like the first thing it says on there. But they're exhausted, so Nate takes a long time to come back. And I feel like
oh yeah.
clearly she's reading it. So disqualification. It said read it together.
Yeah. And it ends up adding a caveat to the entire process where uh it essentially says that they need to go look in the jungle for the scroll, right? And whoever gets it obviously is going to get the advantage, and only one person can get it. Whoever doesn't get it has to come back and essentially put the rest of the sandbags away on their own. Otherwise, they lose their vote. So Nate's thinking that, oh, okay, so MC actually has the physicality over me. She's in much better shape. She will destroy me if it comes down to it. This is going to be a losing challenge for me. So he convinces her, hey, why don't we just get the sandbags, remove them all right now, make it easier for ourselves. Then we can go look for it. That way, if one of us doesn't get it, you know, neither of us is at risk of losing their vote in that case. And she agrees to it, which quite honestly, I'm a little surprised by that. They have a timer, obviously. So they actually have an hourglass filled with sand that is slowly cutting down the time. And they have up until the hourglass is up to find the advantage. Otherwise, they both risk losing their votes if the sandbags aren't all across. And this is another aspect where we see Nate employ some strategy. He does not even bother looking for the scroll once they get most of the sandbags covered. What he does is he sees that MC starting to look for it and he's like, oh, okay, I'm worried that there's a lot of time that she has left. So she very likely could find it. How do I work this to my benefit? He then calls her out and says, "Hey, we're running out of time," while she's in the jungle, and she actually comes back and checks. And this is something where quickly she can realize that, like, no, he's not telling the truth. But she doesn't let that stop her. She just then sits there with him and starts chatting with him, and he essentially manages to convince her to not finish the rest of the challenge, not to look for the advantage, and ultimately we can just go away without losing our votes, and that's a win. And she agrees with that. You know, well, I thought that was a missed effort on her part. I thought that was her challenge to lose, and she ultimately lost that challenge. Fortunately for her, she didn't lose her vote, but I think Nate went away from that challenge, the journey, considering that to be a win on his part.
And what a fumble by MC. And
Yeah.
I think I don't know if they both misunderstood but what we read is what you described, where there's an advantage. There's some amount of time left in the timer, and there's an advantage. And you are given the choice. You can either both keep doing the sandbags, play it safe, keep your votes, or spend time looking for the advantage. If you find the advantage, though, you have it. There's no downside as soon as you find it. The only downside would be is if you never find it, or it said if MC was looking and then Nate stayed at the sandbags. If he finishes the sandbags before she finds it, then she loses her vote. But the way that Nate phrases it is like, "Oh, well, it's really in our both our interests to do the sandbags because we're gonna have to do them anyway." But that's not true. They would not if you
Yeah.
find the advantage, you would not do it anyway.
I was not buying that at all. Like, I don't know why MC just trusted his every word. I think that's the benefit of being a rad dad, that you just come across as an unsuspecting person, but she did not even either A, think to question him, or B, why was she even listening to him in the first place? Like, your challenges against each other. Like, he's not in this for you to win this. Like, why are you
She had one
listening to
last
his every word?
chance. Because he's getting desperate, and I think this is sloppy too. Like what he wants to happen is to keep his vote and prevent her from getting advantage, but more importantly, keep his vote. So if she finds the advantage, it means he has to complete the sandbags alone to keep his vote. So obviously that he doesn't think that's going to happen. So he wants to avoid that scenario. I get that part. That's fine. But he gives up on even finding the advantage because that would have been his other option. He just assumes it's impossible. I'm never going to find it. So he throws that idea out the window. And his next best idea is convince MC also to give up on that and just work on it. And it shouldn't have worked. Like
Yeah.
that
No, it just blew
strategy
my mind.
should have failed.
I she
And she
essentially
comes
just
back,
helped
right?
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
she just helped him for no reason. For no
And when
reason.
she
He
comes back,
wasn't
she
even
sees the hourglass too, because he yells, "We're almost out of time." And I'm thinking, what a dumb lie, because she comes back, she's gonna look at the hourglass, and obviously, and then
yeah,
you're
like,
not, and then of
glance at
course
it,
she's not.
go back even if you are coming back, but no, she then just decides she's gonna stick around. Like,
Yeah.
he wasn't even
Um,
looking for the advantage. Like, I don't understand why she just like, she completely fumbled that. Like, that was absolutely set up for her to be able to win that, and then she just listened to what he had to say and essentially helped him avoid losing his own vote.
yeah, but I guess at the end of the day, credit to Rad Dad. Look, like scoreboard, he succeeded in the deception, so good on him.
And I'm puzzled by that. It's like, he wasn't even very convincing in what he was saying. It's like, I don't know.
Maybe
That was
maybe set that energy. We don't know.
yeah.
But all right. So ultimately, after all that drama, nothing changes in turn. Everyone keeps their vote. No new advantages. But me as a viewer have lost some confidence in MC. I'll just tell you that. Now, immunity challenge. This one was also cool. Uh, Breaking the mold of obstacle course plus puzzle. Instead, they're all in the water, and they need to work together to move a bamboo cage through the water back to the beach. And then if they can do that, one of them has to dig out from underneath that cage, escape, and then untie some balls that the rest of them are gonna shoot and try to just basically score baskets, 3 of them to win. Um, Straightforward, but it was like a cool like spectacle though. I like seeing it. Um, and it is gonna be the Kele tribe again, got their second win in a row, and sends the new Hina tribe back to tribal council. Um, I don't think there's any specific standouts from Kele in this challenge. For Hina, we do get poor Sophie getting elbowed in the face, so it's awkward.
Yeah. To add insult to injury, she's also currently the only winless person.
Yep,
She's gone to tribal every single night. Sophie from Hina, that is, not the
yep,
other
that's
Sophie.
right. Jason and Nate really struggle in this as well. Nate almost declares he can't do it anymore, but they get there eventually. They do get
Or
to the
I should further specify Sophie from the new Hina, because
That's true. You're
there's a Sophie
right.
from the old Hina. Okay.
Yes. Um, so now, and honestly, there's not going to be much to say here. So we get a repeat of the previous episode where it's Tina again, but this time Jason's alone because Matt's gone now. it should be very obvious to Jason he is in grave danger. Like something extreme needs to happen for him to get out of this. And he still doesn't really take any actions until Savannah talks to him. And cause she's debating at least a little bit targeting Joanne because Joanne's just been bucking her. Like somehow he took her water bottle this episode. I don't understand how this is possible. It's kind of sus to be honest. Uh,
Yeah, it's kinda
but
weird.
she's and he wasn't in their alliance originally, so she's contemplating it. I don't think it was really that serious, but at least this question. So she talks to Jason and kind of describes him as like, hey, you're with as the last Hina, you're actually kind of valuable because you have information about them, and if we keep you and vote out someone else, then it kind of gives the impression that it's not tribe versus tribe. So Jason hears that, he likes what he's hearing, and in the rest of his conversations that day, he uses that as the reason, as justification for making a move, which it's okay, but it took someone else kind of giving him the script of what to say. So, but at the end of the day, all right, he's doing it. His biggest issue was the name he wants to go for is Rizzo. So if his only hope was that if he proposed Joanne, because Joanne was already in hot water. So that is a negative on his social game, being unable to identify and or notice someone who's I mean, he was even there for the water ball incident. He could have like guessed maybe taken a shot in the dark that he'd be on the outs. Um, were you ever convinced that it might have been Joanne going home rather than
I was I
Jason?
was hopeful it would be Jawan, but no, I was not convinced at all. I knew it was very obviously gonna be Jason. It just did not make sense to get rid of Jawan. I think, originally, Savannah was mentioning that, "Oh, okay, we need to make sure that he's not using his shot in the dark." They were just playing it up for him so that he wouldn't use the shot in the dark. I thought it was pretty obvious they were targeting him.
Yeah, I think now, especially now that you have some experience with these Survivor seasons, you kind of see their strategies. So this looks like a pretty unless asterisk. Obviously, if he uses and hits shot in the dark, that changes everything. But in terms of who the target is, it does seem to be Jason the whole time. Um, there's really not much to say here. He to kind of falls flat in his face on any other plan, and even worse at tribal council, which is kind of a big nothing of a tribal council too. Like Jeff was kind of going on weird tangents. I don't even know what he's really getting at for the most of the time. But Jason does not use his shot in the dark. He attempts to vote for Rizzo because Rizzo gets a vote, and yeah, Jason goes home. Pretty disappointing. I I think we both liked him in general, like, in that episode 1, it's like, "Oh, this could be interesting if he does well," but
Honestly, like,
just yeah.
one very interesting blindside could have been if it turns out he wasn't the only vote on Rizzo and he ends up using a shot in the dark, and ultimately Rizzo ends up going home, and that causes him to lose his idol. Like, that would be an interesting twist.
Yeah, I mean, that would be crazy. I mean, that's the type of thing, it's easier to pull that off when you have an ally, which you had last time, but unfortunately, you made no strategy with Matt, so you didn't even try to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, sad. Sad, sad, sad. I suspect I know, but, do you want to see Jason again?
No, definitely not.
Definitely not, definitely not. Yeah, that's I'm sorry, Jason, you didn't impress me. He did say in his little, after the vote out, confessional that he was actually the alternate for this season. So that means someone who originally was cast, something happened and they weren't available, so he was pulled in as the alternate. And he kinda gave the impression, like, I was just so happy to even have an opportunity because I thought I wasn't gonna get picked. Which is nice and all, but it kinda gives me this, like, house money attitude, just happy to be here, so that might be a factor in how he played this game.
I
Um,
I would like to see him in a future Smash Bros tournament. That would be cool.
Oh, that honestly, I mean, maybe he probably maybe he will do that because a lot of these contestants try to parlay their Survivor experience into some short term fame. So maybe I'll have to look into that. Um, so let's wrap this up. So we lose Matt, we lose Jason. We now need to address winner picks. I need to start. So I lost Jeremiah, so I'm down to just one, and that one is Shannon. And I'm very concerned. She's getting a lot of negative attention. And since she's my only one, if she gets voted out, it's all over. I'm out of the competition. But if I switch from her, I can't go back to her. And what if like they merge next time and then she's not in danger anymore? So or they just win and they're not. So I'm debating whether it's too dangerous or not to stick with her. And the problem is like I actually was thinking about MC before this episode, but MC like
Mhm.
disappointed me a lot this episode. So I don't know if I should also avoid her.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, but, like, fortunately enough for her, it doesn't I don't think it would affect her standing, like, no one else saw that, so that kinda works
No,
to her benefit.
but just as a strategist, like, that was an important
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
moment decision, and she kinda, like, they
yeah.
failed there. Um, do I go Riz God? That's the question.
Riz God. You have
Riz
a baked-in
God.
protection with the immunity idol.
And then MC too, that's, when she gets it, so that's what I'm hoping for. Um, you know, we're gonna do that. So I am gonna switch from Shannon to MC despite kind of her failing in this episode. My logic being she does have an idol that isn't activated yet, but once it's activated, she'll have that. She has a one-on-one alliance with Steven, so hopefully they look out for each other. Um, obviously the one thing is their original Hina, which is now in the minority, but maybe I guess I have to bank on something changing post merge where they like turn the tables on Uli. So I am officially doing that. My new winner pick is MC.
Okay. This would have been a rough week for you because Shannon potentially could have been on the hot seat.
Yes, well, and that's kind of one of the things that alarmed me too. So I had to, and it's different if I had two people left, I could take the chance because you're probably not going to lose both your winner picks in one shot. It's not impossible, but no, probably not.
Yeah. Alright, cool.
And you, what of your winner picks?
I'm I'm sticking with my 2, Savannah and Steven.
All right, fair enough. I like that. Now our winner picks are aligned again because like we had Shannon and Savannah who are aligned, and now we have MC and Steven that are aligned.
Mhm.
So we're in this together.
Yes, sir.
But all right, so that's the end of another episode of Island Life. Thank you all for tuning in on our season 49 adventure, and we'll be back next week as we continue to see what's next in our story. Are we gonna get more of the same? Honestly, now, if if new Hina loses again, well, is it just obviously Sophie, or has Sophie actually jumped Joanne on their tribe and it would actually be that? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So that adds some intrigue. I'm just worried that we got so much of the storyline of Sage and Shannon that it's kind of telegraphing now that the other tribe is gonna lose next time. And if that
Well,
happens, we might get the same storyline for the third episode in a row.
one thing I love to do is expect the unexpected, so here's to more of that.
Fair enough. But all right, people. Until next time. Ciao.